Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, my international friends, joining me as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all that sorts of good stuff. And it is Friday, which means I am flying solo today. I like to give my crew the day off on Friday, so it's just you and me talking about movies, and some great stuff has come up this week. We're going to talk It Chapter 2 trailer, some stuff going on with the Chameleon, some not so favorable projection numbers for Godzilla. We're going to talk about the Hulk. And before we get to any of that, this news just broke this morning off the top. Now, two of my favorite actors going today are Jessica Chastain and Andrew Garfield. I just love both these guys. And it was just announced this morning that the two of them have been cast to play together in the based on the true story life of Jim and Tammy Faye Bakker. That's right, Andrew Garfield and Jessica Chastain are going to play Jim and Tammy Faye Bakker. Now, for those of you who don't remember or don't know who they are, Jim and Tammy Bakker were kind of the couple of the poster children of the big televangelist craze back in the 70s and 80s and stuff like that. Particularly, they're at the center of a lot of firestorm in the 80s when all the televangelists started to be brought down. It was huge news at the time. It kind of swept the nation. It was a very dark time for a lot of people. And so they're going to get these two playing it. I got to tell you what, I'm excited about this. Not that I'm a big fan of televangelist stories, but to have these two performers, again, Garfield and Chastain, working together to do like a semi-biographical thing of this, I think is fabulous. I think it's fantastic. I can't wait to see this. Now, look, when you're talking about like performers, listen to what Jessica Chastain. Now, number one, we're going to be talking about her in just a little bit, again, because of the It Chapter 2 trailer. But I mean, she was in Molly's Game, which I thought she deserved a lot more Academy Award attention for that than anything else. I loved her in Miss Sloane. I obviously was a smaller part, but I loved her in The Martian, Interstellar. Obviously, she was in one of my favorite films of the last number of years, The Help. I love her in that. Zero Dark 30, on and on. I just think this woman's a queen in the business right now. Andrew Garfield, I still contend, not just should have gotten an Academy Award nomination for The Social Network, he should have won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for The Social Network. He was just that pivotal in it. He was just that important in it. I loved him that. Hacksaw Ridge, he did get an Academy Award nomination for that as well. So again, to see a pairing like these two together to do a Jim and Tammy Faye Bakker, and again, it was a dark time. It was a dark time for, I mean, there are a lot of people in evangelical Christian circles that look at that period of time with great embarrassment. Like, a lot of people can't believe that people like that existed. They still do exist to a certain degree today. And I think this is a really interesting story to tell, even for people who may not have been around when all this stuff, I was just a kid when that was going on, but I remember it a lot. And it was kind of highlighted the news cycles all the time. Getting these two in there, I think, is a great choice. All right, with that down and out of the way, let's now move on to our main topics of the day. And our main topics today are selected the same way we always do. You see, you guys select them. How do you select our main topics? Well, it's easy. You simply go to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. When you're there, you fill out the form, then hit submit, and maybe, just maybe, you may see your topic or question as one of the main issues here on the John Campea Show. So, with that down, let's get to the first main topic today. And the first main topic today comes to us from Shelly Belly. I like that. Shelly Belly writes, "Hey, John and company. I recently read an article that only 2 of the 10 most watched shows on Netflix are Netflix original series. Shows like The Office and Friends dominate by large margins, with so many upcoming streaming services like NBC coming soon, and all these individual companies will likely take their properties back with them. Long term, what does this mean for companies like Netflix and Amazon, who rely so much on their shows?" All right, thanks a lot for the question. And you're right, Shelly. One of the really interesting things about Netflix and all their programming is that only a fraction of Netflix's traffic actually comes from Netflix original series and Netflix original movies. A large chunk of their traffic comes from people who go to watch, other people's content. They come to see curated content from other networks and stuff like that, be it Friends, be it The Office, be it whatever. You know, people go to Netflix and watch that stuff there, a lot of movies and all that kind of stuff. That's what makes up the lion's share of Netflix's traffic. Now, we are coming into an age now where more and more individual streaming services are going to be launching. Obviously, we got the big one. We got Disney Plus coming. There's already Amazon and Hulu out there. We know that NBC is doing one. We know that Warner Brothers is going to be doing another one. We know that Comcast, Universal is going to be doing one, and that's a lot of content right there. All these places are going to be doing their own stuff, and they're all going to be taking back whatever content they have on Netflix. Now, here's the thing. Netflix leadership was actually really smart, and years ago realized that someday that was going to happen. The Netflix leadership realized years ago that someday all these networks, whenever they're going to have their own streaming services and we're not going to have all this content. So years ago, this was a great quote. It was by the head guy at Netflix at the time, and he said, "We need to become HBO before HBO becomes us." Think about it. That was actually brilliant. We need to become HBO before HBO becomes us. So Netflix was way ahead of the game, and they started ages ago cranking out their own original material. I remember it was a big deal when people started realizing that Netflix is going to be, wait a minute, creating content? They're going to be making their own shows? And they were way ahead of the curve. And we actually talked about this a couple weeks ago on an open mic. But here's the thing. Is Netflix really in trouble? I'm going to say no, they're not. Are they going to take a hit in the coming years? Yes. But again, they were out of the gate so fast, and right now they are so far ahead of everybody else that doesn't mean 10 years from now they're still the giant, but I think they're in better shape than even Disney Plus is going to be when they launch. Because just think about this. Disney Plus is going to be launching, and they're going to have a couple of original shows. They're going to have Mandalorian, which I'm so excited about. They're going to have a lot of original Disney stuff, but Netflix already has accumulated a massive amount of original series. Forget even their original movies, most of which suck, but forget their original movies. They've already amassed a massive amount. Here's just a taste. This is just a taste of them. The Umbrella Academy, fabulous. Russian Doll. I mean, Ashley can't stop talking about Russian Doll. The Crown, one of Anne's favorite shows in the world. American Vandal, which was great out the back. And I haven't caught up with season 2 yet, but I love season 1. Big Mouth, a lot of people love Big Mouth. Black Mirror, everybody's always talking about Black Mirror. Haunting of Hill House, everybody's talking about that. Master of None is Aziz's new show, winning all types of awards. Mindhunter, I cannot wait for season 2 to launch. Of course, Stranger Things might be the most popular thing they've got going. Sex Education, which Robert is talking about all the time. All of you guys are talking about BoJack Horseman. Tell me about that. Probably Anne's favorite show on Netflix right now is actually Chef's Table. Dear White People, Glow is fantastic. Narcos, both the original series and now Narcos Mexico. Orange is the New Black. Ozark, Troll Hunters from Guillermo del Toro. I mean, this is just a taste of the original programming. This is how far ahead of the game, and this is what Netflix, and this isn't, I haven't even gotten any of the Marvel stuff on here yet. I didn't even put Daredevil or Jessica Jones or Punisher or whatever. I haven't even put any of that there. The point is, Netflix got out ahead of everybody else so fast, and they've been investing so much money to really establish themselves like that because they knew that that day was coming. Is Netflix in trouble? No. Are they going to take a hit? Yes. But then once all these other services come out and the water kind of settles a little bit, Netflix will lose a chunk of their streaming because they don't have any of that other curated content anymore. But now you're going to have all these places with all their original content, and Netflix is going to be ahead of all of them to start. Now, can they maintain that? Can they carry that through? Can they keep the course and keep cranking out really high quality series that people talk about and love and buzz about? Maybe yes, maybe no. But when the waters settle and everybody comes out of the gate and everybody's got their own stuff back, Netflix is still going to be in the lead at this point. How long that lasts, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, but I don't think they're in any imminent danger. So that's just my kind of thought of that. What do you guys think? Do you think Netflix is in big trouble, or do you think they did a lot of the work early to kind of make sure they're in a pretty good spot right now? Jump down to the comment section and let me know what you think. All right, let's move on now to the next topic today. And the next main topic today comes to us from Ravishek Raj, who writes, saw the trailer for It Chapter 2 and it looks damn scary. This movie will earn more than $1 billion for sure. I'm not so sure about that. What are your expectations and review for the trailer? All right, thanks a lot for that. And yeah, of course, it was actually during the John Campea Show live stream yesterday that the It Chapter 2 trailer dropped. And what is great about it is that they took the scene out. You guys may remember, me and Robert were telling you guys that when we went to CinemaCon in Vegas, they showed us this big, long clip and a trailer for It Chapter 2. And I was really happy to see that a part of that trailer release yesterday was that scene with Jessica Chastain in the apartment with the old woman. Now, they only showed you part of that scene. They showed us a bunch more of it at CinemaCon. But now you guys see why I was freaking out. They showed us that whole scene uncut, and it was freaky and tense and creepy and all that kind of stuff, and had everybody at CinemaCon just buzzing about it. Just buzzing about it. So I was really excited to see yesterday that when they launched this It Chapter 2 trailer, they included that as a part of it, which is just damn great. Jessica Chastain, of course, looks amazing in it. That scene with the old woman, the moment in that trailer where Jessica Chastain is standing looking at the wall with the pictures, and behind in the doorway to the kitchen, you just see the old woman naked walk by. The whole audience, I was in this theater with like 4,000 people, and the whole audience was just like, "Wah!" Like it was just one of the creepiest things. It shows that the people making it understand that the best way to do horror isn't just right here with Penny. That's not just the only way. That's a very good and effective way right there, because that's creepy as hell too. But some of the most effective stuff in doing horror is do things that create the atmosphere. Do subtle things, little things. And just even the moment when Jessica Chastain and the old woman are sitting together face to face, and the old woman's just like, I mean, there was something so inherently creepy about the atmosphere of that is just palpable. And then, again, that shot where the woman's walking naked across the back, it just, oh my God. So the It filmmakers seem to be doing this great job of mixing the more traditional boo stuff with horror, but also a lot of the more subtle environment, kind of temperature kind of setting for a movie as well, that really lays the groundwork for horror, for really good horror movies like that. So I saw this and I ate it up. Now, if you guys remember, I really enjoyed the trailers for the first It. And even though I really liked the trailers for the first It, the movie itself still surprised me about how good it was. And it surprised a lot of you guys as well. And we were all just kind of incredibly happy with it, and it was wonderful. But I'll tell you what, I think this trailer has put the marketing for It Chapter 2 even beyond It Chapter 1. Now, as far as the thing about it'll make $1 billion easy, pump the brakes a little bit. It's still an R-rated horror film. Okay, keep that in mind. It's still an R-rated horror film. It's not like the last one made 9.3 or $930 million. It made a ridiculous amount of money for a horror movie like this, made over $700 million. That's still a long way. That's still a long way from $1 billion. Now, I'm not sitting here saying it ain't going to hit $1 billion. Not at all. But I am saying pump the brakes a little bit about this. It's going to hit $1 billion easy. Not so easy. Not so easy. It could do it. It's possible. And this trailer is going to help the cause. But remember, it's still a horror movie. It's still an R-rated movie. It still has some hurdles to have to overcome. And it's not like the last movie got real close to $1 billion. So possible? Absolutely. Easy? No, not a chance. Not a chance that it's easy. All right. Let's move on now to the third main topic today. And the third main topic today gets submitted by Billy. And Billy writes, Hey, John and crew. I hope all is well. All is well, Billy. Thank you for asking. New box office tracking has come out for Godzilla 2, and it is tracking for a $55 million debut. It's actually 50 to 55, but yeah, close enough. This film clearly has a hefty budget. So do you think if this film does open to that number, that people will say that it underperformed? All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. And yes, the early tracking numbers for Godzilla King of the Monsters has come out, and it's not glorious. It's not glorious. You have to understand, there are a lot of movies that get made that a $50 to $55 million opening is great. That would make a lot of films very, very happy. However, right now, the reports are that the budget for Godzilla King of the Monsters is in the $200 million range. $200 million range. That's more than most films. I mean, it's obviously not Avengers' $357 million budget, which is just ridiculous, but that's a huge budget. That means this movie needs to make in the neighborhood of $500 to $600 million just to break even. And they're spending a lot on their marketing campaign too. Now, let's put this in context about how does this position with the other monster movies? They've done 2 other movies so far. They did the first Godzilla, and then they did Kong Skull Island. The first Godzilla in 2014 opened to $93 million. That's nearly twice of what they're projecting this one's going to open to. And at an opening of $93 million, it went on to make $529 million. They're going to have to go over that. They're going to have to go over that $529 million just to hopefully break even. Just to break even on this damn thing, they're going to have to go well over that. All right, let's look at this other one, Kong Skull Island. It opened to a much less $61 million. However, it went on to make more money than the previous one did at $566. So there's an interesting kind of interesting sort of weird dichotomy here. On the one hand, you've got the first film that opened with much more, made less, and the film that opened with less ended up making more. So that's an interesting dichotomy here. But still, none of that is good news for Godzilla King of the Monsters, projecting to open to between 50 and 55 million. Look, I don't think it's hyperbole to say that's disastrous. That's a disastrous number. That's not good, my friends. That's not good at all. Because if Godzilla opened in 93 and went on to make 529, look, again, you can have Godzilla King of the Monsters open at $50 million and go on to make 700. Absolutely you can. Sure you can. Avatar opened to 70-something billion and went on to make $2.8 billion worldwide. So it can happen, but it's extremely rare. And I'll tell you what else. I don't know why the hell the tracking numbers are so low on this. This movie looks great. This movie looks wonderful. I mean, I think the trailers have been great. The design, the creatures look great. It looks like they've corrected, at least on the surface, it looks like they've corrected the mistake from the first Godzilla movie, because everybody's big criticism, obviously, of the first Godzilla movie, rightfully so, was that there simply wasn't enough Godzilla in the Godzilla movie, right? That was the big criticism, and rightfully so. But everything about the marketing we've seen from this Godzilla movie seems to suggest that, you know what? We've heard you. And now you're not just going to get Godzilla and a couple others. You're going to get Rodan, Mothra, King Ghidorah. You're going to get and they said, how many did they say in the movie? There's 17 Titans in this. So they heard our cries from the first Godzilla, corrected that. Trailers have been magnificent. The whole marketing campaign's been magnificent. The posters look great. And it's tracking at $55 million opening. I got to tell you, I'm a little bit flabbergasted by that. I don't know what people are wanting to get more interested in this movie. I think it looks fabulous. Maybe the truth is people got turned off by the first Godzilla and maybe Kong Skull Island, and now they're not all that interested. But here's an interesting question that I got. And remember, tracking can always go up. right? So they're tracking right now 50 to 55. Hey, this thing could open at 70, 75. Then it's got a little bit of a better forecast from there. But here's an interesting question. What does the studio do with Godzilla versus Kong now that it's already done shooting if Godzilla King of the Monsters unimaginably flops? What if Godzilla King of the Monster flops? Which I never would have thought is possible. But opening with 50 to 55 million projections, that's not good. What do you do with Godzilla versus Kong? You've already shot it, so it's not like you can just pull the plug on the movie. But you've probably still got a lot of money you got to spend on all the post-production of it. Do you scale it down and put it straight to Hulu? Or some streaming service? Do you stay the course and just trust that Godzilla King of the Monsters is a good movie, and if you put out Godzilla versus Kong, the audience will come back? It's an interesting question. I gotta believe that this movie will open bigger than 50 to 55. At least it better. They better hope it does. So I gotta tell you, man, these numbers surprise me quite a bit. But anyway, there's that. Okay, jump down to the comment section. Let me know, what do you guys think? Are you guys surprised to hear about the opening tracking numbers? Does it now make you worry for the financial future? I still think the movie looks awesome. I can't wait to watch this thing. But I want to know what you guys think. Jump down in the comment section below and leave your thoughts. All right, let's now move on to the fourth main topic today. And the fourth main topic today comes to us from Robert McGee, who writes, "Hey, John, I want to be careful here because I don't want to sound like I didn't love Avengers Endgame, because I did. I know that you joked about it once, but I seriously have to ask, why do the Russo brothers hate the Hulk? No, seriously, no healing factor, no rage strength increases, no highlight action sequences. They really only used him once to job, as you put it, to Thanos to show off how strong of a villain Thanos was. A lot of us were expecting some big payoff for Hulk in Endgame, but never got it. So what gives?" All right, thanks a lot for the question, Robert McGee. Why do the Russo brothers hate the Hulk? And it's true, I joked about that once. I once said, watching the Hulk in Infinity War and Endgame, I jokingly said, gosh, I wonder if the Russo brothers were bullied by a big kid when they were little, and that big kid always had like a Hulk t-shirt on, and now they hate the Hulk. I was joking at the time. But I have been seeing more and more people writing to me recently, bringing up that issue of, well, wait a minute here. What happened to Hulk? I mean, in Endgame, like you pointed out. Now, look, I think there's two ways of looking at this, and we're going to look at them both here. Number one, why did the Russo brothers so disrespect the character of the Hulk in Infinity War and Endgame? But then, at the same time, look at the ways the Russo brothers did give a lot of respect to the Hulk in Infinity War and Endgame. I think there are two ways of looking at it. Okay, so let's start with the first one. To your question, why do the Russos hate the Hulk? Well, I mean, there is some stuff to point to say that they don't think very highly of the Hulk. First of all, you're right. In Endgame, the only time they used Hulk was right at the beginning of the movie, and it was just using him to job to Thanos. Now, remember, he wasn't the only one to job to Thanos at the beginning. Thor got his ass whooped too. Remember? I mean, he killed Loki, he whooped Thor, and he whooped Hulk. But Thor had a lot of big highlight moments later in that movie, whereas that one scene getting beat down by Thanos, jobbing to Thanos, was the only scene that the Hulk had. Yeah, that's true. And then we never got to see the Hulk again. The Hulk, we never got to see him again in the movie, other than just going, no, which I thought was interesting, but we'll get to that in a minute. So yeah, valid observation. They just used him to get his ass beat and then never touched him again throughout the movie, except they were setting up some big drama between Banner and Hulk, which we never got to see play out, but we'll get to that in a minute. One of the interesting things here is, look at this picture here. Remember in the MCU, there was a time in the MCU that just Banner's eyes turning green made everybody in the movie and everybody watching the movie made everybody go, oh shit, here comes the Hulk, batten down the hatches, everybody dive for cover. Like, just when the eyes started to turn green and Bruce Banner, that was, Oh hell, everything's about, like, all hell's about to break loose. Here it comes. It's happening. Everybody buckle up. Like, just the eyes turning green freaked everybody in the MCU out, and freaked everybody watching the MCU movie out, because here came something awesome. As a matter of fact, in that first Avengers movie, Loki basically talked as if Hulk was their nuclear weapon. Like, when you look at the first Avengers movie, that was Loki's right there. That was Loki's ultimate ace in his hole, that he wanted to get, as Loki called him, the monster on there, right? And I mean, really, the Avengers all had to make contingency plans for what happens if Hulk gets a little bit out of control. He was the nuclear bomb. He was the nuclear bomb. He's one of the OG Avengers. We get into Infinity War, this huge movie with so many characters, and the only way they use the Hulk is to get his ass beaten to job to Thanos, and others did too, but others got to have redemptive moments later, not the Hulk. So there's that. Now you move into Infinity War, and Hulk's just gone. It's no longer Hulk. Now it's Bruce Banner. As somebody in my chat board wrote once, it's just Bruce Banner in a Hulk costume now. It's Bruce Banner in a Hulk costume. And again, we never get to see him do anything action-wise. He's the Hulk. He's this guy that when the eyes turned green, everybody knew shit was about to hit the fan. And now, not a single action sequence did he get in Avengers. And when you look at the past two Avengers movies, he got one action sequence, which was just him jobbing to Thanos. And it's the Hulk, the ultimate nuclear weapon. It's him, and they just completely discarded him. And they didn't use him at all. Hell, everybody in Infinity War got a big highlight action sequence, except the Hulk. I mean, Okoye got a big action shot. Obviously, Captain Marvel did. A Scarlet Witch did. All the other Avengers did. Everybody got these great big moments, huge action sequences, blah, blah, even if it was just short, whatever. Hell, the Wasp got to kick some ass. Gamora, who only showed up for a few seconds, got to kick some ass. Drax, who didn't even have a line of dialogue in the movie, at least got to jump on one of the Black Orders. Was it Cull Obsidian? I think that's who. Jump on his back and start stabbing, blah, 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 all this. Even Dax, who had no lines of dialogue in this movie, all we got to see the Hulk do was run into action, but we didn't actually get to see him do anything. And this is the Hulk, right? This is the Hulk. So, yeah, there is one way of looking at it and going, what the hell? How have you disrespected? Why do the Russo brothers hate the Hulk? They gave love to everybody else, and they just completely disrespected the Hulk character. I get it, and I don't think you're wrong to think that way. However, let me point a couple of other things out. Again, I'm not saying you don't have a right to feel that way, because everything we just said was true. But there are other things the Russos did with the Hulk that I would suggest, while all those other things suggest they don't respect the Hulk, I would propose to you that there are a number of things they did do with Hulk that do suggest they have respect for the character. Okay? So just follow me along here. Number one of the more interesting things I thought they did in Infinity War was this lovers quarrel between Bruce Banner and Hulk. Like, come on, you big dummy. No, like, that was a really interesting thing. The Hulk refusing to come out and actually seeing interaction between Banner and the Hulk. We had never seen that before in the MCU. That was a new thing. You know, the Russo brothers came along in Infinity War and they introduced this new element of actual conflict between, I mean, we always know the two sides are at war at each other philosophically, but now we actually see them interacting. We see them having a conversation amongst themselves. That was something we had never seen in the MCU before. And it was radically intriguing, and I thought it was just really interesting. And it seemed like they were setting something up for some great resolution later. Now, granted, we never got to see it actually work itself out, but still, I thought that was really, really fascinating. And for the first time, it really let us focus on the Banner side of the equation. Usually we're just focused on the Hulk side of the equation. In Infinity War, we got to focus on the Banner side of the equation, and I like that. Now let's move into Endgame. There is a number of things in Endgame that I think that the Russos show that they do have a good amount of respect for the Hulk character, but they just wanted to do something different with him, right? First of all, he is one of the masterminds. I mean, you see him working with Tony. He is a brilliant scientist. They're working that whole thing out. They gave him a couple of great comedic moments in the movie. They gave him a couple of great comedic moments. One was the introduction scene when they're in the diner and the kids are coming for his autograph. Come on. I've seen that movie in theater 4 times now. I still haven't got my 5th yet. But every single time, the audience is in stitches when the kids come over to ask for his picture, right? That's a funny scene, and people loved it. Another one somebody brought up on one of my shows yesterday was just that he didn't have any dialogue in it. You know, Ant-Man, he loses his tacos, and Hulk comes along and hands him a couple of tacos. That scene was great. I love that. The whole thing about the time travel, when we set up the time travel initially. Remember, he executed time travel before Tony showed up just to make sure they could stabilize it. He did send, Ant-Man Scott 1 week into the past, and then, unfortunately, though, put time through him instead of putting him through time. But that one moment was great. It's like, you are kidding, right? I don't know. This is time travel we're talking about. We're good. I mean, that was hilarious. They had a number of moments like that throughout the film that I thought were highlights. But the big thing for Hulk in Endgame, of course, is that a lot of people who have seen Endgame still mistakenly say Tony saved the day. Tony undid the snap. He got rid of the bad guys. Nah. Hulk saved everybody. Hulk is the one who undid the snap. And I don't think we should just gloss over that. I don't think we should just gloss over the fact that it was Banner, Hulk, who first donned the gauntlet and brought everybody back. He was the one that undid everything. And if Hulk hadn't done that and didn't bring everybody back, then Thanos would have won. Because Thanos shows up, all the supporting armies wouldn't have been there to support them. All the returning characters wouldn't have been there to put up the fight. And, Thanos and his armies would have just wiped what was left out completely. That is a singular honor that the Russo brothers bestowed upon the Hulk to do in that movie that no other character had. And yes, later, Tony also made a great sacrifice to wipe out the new threat with the Thanos from the past now here with his armies. He took care of that. But it was Hulk that brought everybody back, and if he didn't do that, nothing else that would have happened after that moment would have mattered. So, again, I see 2 points of view here. On the one, I totally get people being upset about the way they used or lack thereof the Hulk in these movies. I get it. But I would also say that in the midst of that, make sure you keep in your thinking the fact that the Russo brothers tried doing something very different with the Hulk than we ever expected. They also gave him some really highlight moments, and they gave him what I would propose is maybe the ultimate honor moment in Endgame. Now, I still wanted to see Hulk. Yeah, I still think the Russo brothers should have at least given the Hulk his moment. They should have given him something in Endgame. I do agree with that. But when you look at what they tried to do and the honors that they gave him, I don't think you can say that the Russo brothers hated Hulk. You may hate how they used Hulk, but when you see what they did with him and how much they actually put into the character, whether we like what they did or not, I personally feel at the end of the day, the Russo brothers didn't hate the Hulk. You may hate what they did with them, but I don't think they hated him. I think they tried to do something really different, very unique, very special. And for a lot of people it worked, for some people it didn't, and that's fine. Actually, I saw a new hashtag going around, some people using the hashtag Justice for Hulk. Instead of Justice for Han, hashtag Justice for Hulk. All I can say is I really do hope at some time in the near future we get to see Hulk be Hulk again in the MCU. I really hope we get to see Hulk be Hulk again because he's the monster. But anyway, that's just my thoughts on that. What do you think about all that, guys? Jump down in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, let's move on now to the final main topic today. And the final main topic today comes to us from Cthulhu138, who writes, Newman Akar is a cast member, is cast as a character named Dimitri in Spider-Man Far From Home. You stated that no one has been cast as the Chameleon, but the Chameleon's real identity is Dimitri, now I always mispronounce his name, Smerdakov. He also is the half-brother of Kraven the Hunter, that's Sergei Kravenov. Is it not possible or plausible that Newman Akar is playing Chameleon? I mean, just look at Newman Akar. He is a dead ringer for Kraven the Hunter, after all. All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. Now, where this is coming from is, Robert Meyer Burnett last week brought up a theory that he believes Chameleon is going to be in this movie, and that Chameleon is actually, that this isn't even Nick Fury. If it's not Nick Fury, that's Chameleon. And maybe Maria Hill is Chameleon, but he really believed Chameleon was going to be in this movie working with Mysterio. And one of the things I said at the time is, I don't know, man. This movie's already shot and it's coming out in 2 months. I don't know that they could have kept that under wraps. I mean, we would have heard if he was cast and stuff like that. But then, as the message correctly points out, we do have a character who is the half-brother of Kraven the Hunter, being played by an actor who looks an awful lot like Kraven the Hunter, named Dimitri, and of course Dimitri is the real name of the Chameleon in the movie. Newman Akar is playing a character named Dimitri. The Chameleon's real name is Dimitri. Chameleon is half-brother of Kraven. The actor playing Chameleon, or playing Dimitri, looks like Kraven the Hunter. Could it be that we actually are going to have Chameleon in this movie? Now, the director of Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home, John Watts, he was asked about this. He's like, hey, so Newman Akar is playing a character just named Dimitri. Is he Chameleon? He was asked that directly, and this is what the director said. He said, well, Dimitri is in the film, Dimitri in the film works for Nick Fury. And I think anyone who works for Nick Fury, they certainly have a mysterious past. We're not specifically saying that he is Chameleon, but we're not saying it. Dimitri in the film works for Nick Fury, and I think anyone who works for Nick Fury, they certainly have a mysterious, is that a play on the Mysterio name? Who knows? They certainly have a mysterious past. We're not specifically saying that he's Chameleon, but we're not saying, okay, so we'll have a little bit, let's call it what it is. We have a little bit of trolling going on here from the director of Spider-Man Far From Home. Now, of course, here you do have a picture of the actor in question, Newman Akar, who, oh my God, you're right. He looks like, if you show me this guy's picture and said, this is the guy who's playing Kraven the Hunter, I totally would have bought it. Because this guy looks exactly like the way I would picture Kraven the Hunter to look. But he is playing Dimitri, and Dimitri is named the Chameleon. I love the way that John Watts is kind of playing us a little bit. Now, there's a couple of options here. Option number one is that Dimitri is playing Newman Akar is his character Dimitri. It's not a coincidence. He is Chameleon. That is one of the options here. And maybe the most obvious option, and certainly I'm sure the one Robert Meyer Burnett, were he here right now, would certainly be harping on. I think there's another option here. Another option is that having him there and having him named Dimitri is just kind of a little bit of a wink. It's a little bit of a wink to the audience for those of us who are in the know. Because I don't know why the director would say, I'm not saying he's Chameleon. Like, I don't know. I feel like they would just play that a little bit closer to the vest. Don't you? Like, doesn't it feel like that would be something they would just play closer to the vest? Like if it is Chameleon, he was asked, hey, this guy's playing Dimitri, a character named Dimitri. That's the same name as Chameleon. Is he playing Chameleon? I just would have gone, hey man, there's a lot of interesting, fascinating, mysterious characters in this universe. Just wait for the movie and find out. Like, wouldn't you say something like that? I don't know. It's weird, but it certainly does raise some very, very interesting possibilities here. Because remember, Robert Meyer Burnett, his theory is that, number one, there is no multiverse, that this multiverse that Mysterio is talking about is all a part of a big con, and that Chameleon is working with him, which they have done before in the comics. Chameleon is working with him, and they're pulling off some big con, some big, huge con. Does this kind of give a little bit of credence to that? Yeah, I think it does. I think it gives a little bit of credibility. Is it enough to make me buy into the theory? Not me personally. I'm not buying into it yet myself personally. But even I got to admit, this does seem to give a little bit more credibility to the whole notion of it. So let me ask you guys. Do you think Dimitri in this movie truly is Chameleon? Do you think there's a possibility this is all a part of a big con being done by Mysterio and the Chameleon working together? Or are there some other theories here that I'm not even considering right now? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know what you guys think. All right, guys, listen. With all of our main topics out of the way now, let's save a little bit of time and take some live questions. Now, before I get to the live questions, I just want to remind you guys, hey, if you're here on the channel, awesome to have you here. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel yet, why don't you take a second, click on that subscribe button, become a subscriber to the YouTube channel. Only takes a second, and make sure you click the thumbs up on this video, whether you agree or disagree with anything being said. If you enjoy this content, click the thumbs up on the video. It certainly helps all of the channel as well. All right, with that down out of the way, let's get over and start taking some live questions here on this Friday. And we're going to start things off with Nathan Oswald, who writes, Avatar 2 trailer will make or break for a lot of people. I agree. And it's the first trailer. Again, I think we are seeing a growing importance of the first trailer. Because we've been saying for a while, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. And if you lose an audience with the first trailer, it's hard to get them back, even if your other trailers are great. We've seen that happen a few times lately. And I think it's going to be important that they do. They really need to come out strong with this one. All right. John, where am I at here? Walkden writes, so is Detective Pikachu now the best video game movie? Not to me. I think the best video game movie, and this isn't saying much, I still think the best video game movie was probably the recent Tomb Raider. And it's not great, but it was good. I thought the new Tomb Raider movie was good. I think the Detective Pikachu movie is okay. I certainly think if you're a die-hard Pokemon fan, I think you're going to have a really good time at it. Because I went to go see it again. I saw it for a second time last night because Anne hadn't seen it. And Anne loves Pokemon, so we went. Anne had a blast because she recognized every Pokemon. She understood every reference, all that kind of stuff. So it was more of an enjoyable experience for her. And a lot of the audience that was there too, because there was a lot of audience there last night that had like Pokemon shirts and everything on. It was actually a lot of fun. So for me, it's okay. It's pretty good. It's all right. I still don't think it's the best video game movie yet. I still think probably the most recent Tomb Raider, for me, the most recent Tomb Raider still holds that. That Wrestling Hound writes, why is Spider-Man Far From Home coming out on a Tuesday? Well, it's probably because it's taking advantage of the July 4th weekend. So get your big opening, plus then let that roll into the July 4th weekend. So they're probably just taking advantage of the calendar that way. Ben Hayusa writes, really enjoyed Detective Pikachu last night. It was tons of fun for me. Also, that It Chapter 2 trailer gave me goosebumps. And yeah, all I can say is, again, I saw it for a second time last night. They were all Pokemon fans there, and they were having a really good time. They made it a pretty fun environment to be in, I gotta say. All right. T-Man's the Man writes, I really liked the Pokemon movie, but if I was not a fan of the franchise, I would have had a hard time enjoying it. Yeah, and I think that's where myself and a bunch of other people will find themselves in. I still thought, look, it's very cute. Oh my God, it's a cute movie. There is high-level adorableness in this movie. Make no mistake about it. Some good laughs along the way, too. Plot-wise, it's a joke. A lot of very convenient things. All that kind of stuff that just makes it not a great overall well-balanced movie, but certainly cute, whatever. But I said from my first time that I saw the movie that I think if you're a big Pokemon fan, I think you're going to have a very good time. I can't guarantee that, but I think if you're a Pokemon fan, you're going to have a very good time at this movie. And that's, at the end of the day, that's all that's really important. Willow Yang writes, what's the etiquette for TV spoilers? How long should you wait after an episode's released before openly discussing it? Oh, that's a good question. I'm not really sure. I've never even had a rule for that. Because, I mean, there are people who live tweet while watching TV shows, right? Oh my God, can you just believe that Debbie murdered Sandra? Ah! Like, right? Like, as the show is on. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about this. Everybody has different definitions of spoilers and etiquette for spoilers. I think off the top of my head, mine would be at least the next day. Wait till the next day, I guess. But I mean, that's tough. That's a big question, Willow, that I think a lot of fans have to start to having conversations about, to see if we can come up with an agreed upon idea about that. Off the top of my head, again, I'll say one day. Wait at least till the next day, but I've seen lots of people tweeting and putting out big spoilers the night of, so I don't know. It's a great question. I think we need to have those discussions. It's a really good issue to raise. All right, DC Patience writes, Mother's Day weekend, Pikachu movie plus Build-A-Bear. Oh, with Endgame. I'm not kidding. Right up until just now, I thought you were Build-A-Bear. That was such a great line in that movie. Oh my God. Anyway, yeah, Pikachu for a Mother's Day weekend. That's intriguing. It is. It's an odd choice, but it's a little bit of a holiday weekend. People want to go out and see stuff. It's a good one for you, DC. If you're looking forward to both of those, it's a good doubleheader to have. All right, Nathan Oswald writes, over under 70%, Rambo dies in Last Blood. I'm going to take the over on that. I'm going to take the over. I think he's done. I think he's going to, I mean, look at the title of the movie, Last Blood. I think we're going to see Rambo go off into the sunset on this one. I'd be okay if he doesn't, but I think that's what Stallone has in mind. Doc Brown writes, time travel. Of course, Doc Brown would write that. That's, oh God, I love that character. Raven writes, today's word is castigate, to correct or reprimand. Yesterday, I was castigated by John, accepted the advice, and deleted a possibly inappropriate super chat. That's a good word of the day, Raven, and thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. All right. Next up, JMeister25 writes, did you see the new Final Fantasy VII trailer? I did. So they're remaking the Final Fantasy VII game. Look, I played a lot of Final Fantasy VII years ago. Did nothing to get me excited. I'll be honest with you. I watched it. I'm like, seriously. I didn't think it was all that good. But again, it's just a trailer. The game might be the greatest thing ever now that they're remaking the game. But I'll be honest with you. The trailer didn't do anything to get me more amped up to buy it. Nathan Oswald writes, do you think Feige has the balls to keep Tony dead? It's not about balls. It's about what he wants to do. You know, some people would argue that bringing Tony back would be the ballsier things to do. Some people like myself would say keeping him dead is the ballsier things to do. I have no doubt in my mind that at some point, someday, no matter what anybody says right now, like honestly, Robert Downey Jr. could walk into my office right now, could walk into the studio right now and come on camera with me, push me out of the way and say, hey, listen, I'm just here to tell everybody I am done. I'm never going to be in an MCU movie again. I did my 11-year run. It was great. It was the best experience of my career, but I'm never going to be Tony Stark again, just to let you all know. That could happen, and I still wouldn't believe it. No, he'll be back. I don't think it'll be next year. I don't think it'll be 2 years, but 3 years, 5 years, 7 years from now, we'll see Tony again. With their stupid multi-dimension and time travel and blah, we'll see Tony again. He'll be back, one way or the other. Whether he gets resurrected or whether it's just oh no, it's Earth 613's Tony Stark or something. They'll come up with some way and some excuse to bring him back. I have no doubt about it. Doc Brown writes, Back to the Future is not bullshit. One of the great lines in Endgame that got one of the biggest laughs from me at any rate was, of course, when Scott's like, so Back to the Future was bullshit? I mean, such a good line. So funny and so well timed. I'm Upset writes, did I Frankenstein kill Eckhart's career as a lead? No, the reality is, let me bring it up here. First of all, I love Aaron Eckhart. I love Aaron Eckhart. And after The Dark Knight, everybody thought, including me, that his career was like totally poised to be the big, huge A-list star. He was great in No Reservations. I loved him in Thank You for Smoking. Thank You for Smoking was a revolution. Or a revelation for a lot of people. He had done, like he was the lead guy in what was that disaster to the center of the earth, The Core, which is not a great movie, but I thought he was great in it. But after The Dark Knight, not a lot happened. He did Rabbit Hole with Nicole Kidman, which was a nice little movie, but not a movie that anybody saw. Then he did Battle Los Angeles. And that movie sucked. And it flopped. And that did him no favors. Like, coming out of The Dark Knight, doing a film like Rabbit Hole, like an Oscar kind of movie, and I believe it did get some Oscar attention. That's a good move. But then to make his big lead, big budget movie thing in Battle Los Angeles, that probably did more than anything else to sink his career or to kill his momentum. Now, then he did Olympus Has Fallen, which I think is better than most people give it credit for. I actually quite like Olympus Has Fallen, but it was looked kind of as a B-rated movie. And then after that came I, Frankenstein. So I don't know. I, Frankenstein might have been the final nail in the coffin for all that momentum he had built up as a result of Thank You for Smoking and Dark Knight. But it certainly wasn't the single bullet. I think if anything else, Battle Los Angeles is probably the bigger culprit there, which is a shame because he is still one of the finest actors. I love seeing him in anything. Hell, I'll even watch I, Frankenstein a little bit just to watch him in it. I really like Aaron Eckhart, but yeah, it wasn't just that movie. It was a culmination of things, but I think the biggest culprit was probably Battle Los Angeles. Zach Bartran writes, one of two. It trailer looked great. I think I'll like 2 more than the first. I have the same problems with the first one that I do with the first Deadpool, in which they're like M&Ms with no chocolate center. On the outside, they look normal and great, but on the inside, they're hollow and have no substance. I'm going to disagree with you on that, Zach. I'm going to disagree with you on that, but on both fronts, on both It Chapter 1 and on Deadpool. I thought Deadpool had more substance than it had any business having, to be honest with you. I thought they did a really good job with it. I thought the center love story and the relationship between Deadpool and, why am I forgetting her name? But the girlfriend, at any rate. I thought that was far more tangible and legit than I think, and it gave it its real emotional underpinning, to me, at any rate. Obviously not for you, and that's cool. I also thought there was some good heart in the first It movie. But that being said, I do agree that it feels like It Chapter 2, not just with the trailer that we saw, but even all the stuff that we saw at CinemaCon, it does feel like it's going deeper. But remember, It Chapter 2 has the advantage of being able to build on what came before it, right? So they're able to take a lot of the groundwork already laid in the first movie and then just build on top of that. But I agree. I feel like this one looks like it's going to be even better than the second. And I hope it's as good as we're all looking and hoping that it is, Zach. So let's keep our fingers crossed, brother. All right. Terrell Wise writes, Russo brothers also hate Vision. I don't know about that. Vision was... he had several great action sequences. He made a big sacrifice at himself, like a big dramatic moments between him and Wanda with, it's all right, you can never hurt me. Come on, that moment was awesome. That moment was great. And remember, his whole thing started by getting that blade through the gut. He was mortally wounded from the get-go and still put up a terrific fight, despite the fact that he was so injured and so wounded, right? I don't know. I thought they did a pretty good job with Vision. But hey, that's just me. That's just me. Nathan Oswald writes, I was 11 seeing Iron Man in theaters. Now I'm 22 with Endgame. Geez, time flies. No kidding, man. It is weird. Again, I always said it's weird to imagine a time. At 11 years now, it's weird to think about the time when we didn't have the MCU around. And I can only imagine going to see Iron Man when you were 11 years old. The MCU's now literally been around half of your life. And it's like you're in the theater watching Endgame and going, wow, when I saw this guy, Robert Downey Jr. playing Iron Man the first time, I was 11 years old. That is nuts, man. That is nuts. Thanks for sharing. DC Patience writes, Scott Lang to Iron Man in Endgame, flick me. I love him. I thought they did, if anything, I wasn't sure how much justice Ant-Man would be given in Endgame. Ant-Man was another director's character. Obviously he wasn't there at all in Infinity War for a reason. So I wasn't really sure how they would use him or if he would get his due, because I love this character and I love, the way they've used him. I love Paul Rudd as a performer, all that kind of stuff. And I was really pleasantly surprised. We all may have been negatively surprised by the lack of Hulk, but I was very pleasantly surprised by how much and how well they used Ant-Man in this movie. So I'm with you, DC, on that. Matt Linton writes, did they bench the Hulk as a big FU to Universal? No, because that had nothing to do with it. Not making standalone Hulk films is an FU to Universal. If you're able to use the Hulk at all, not giving him a 30-second thing, that does nothing to Universal. Universal doesn't care, so no. Tyler Van writes, what are some movies where where your opinion later changed? Example, like how you said you didn't like Inglourious Bastards when you first saw it. I can only really think of two situations when that's ever happened in my life. Like drastically. Like we've all had many, many films where our opinions shift a little bit on movies, but big drastic changes. The only two times I can ever really think of are one, Inglourious Bastards, which I hated the first time I saw it. And then like a year later, I watched it again. I'm like, this movie's awesome. Was I in a bad mood that day? Like to this day, I have no idea. I love that movie. But the first time I saw it, I hated it. And to this day, I have no idea why. I must have been in a grumpy mood or something. Anyway, the other is the Star Wars prequels, where I just kind of lied to myself to fool myself that I like them. But every time I watch them, it's like I realized every single time I watched it how bad it was. Like it was getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And it did it for all three movies. I did for all three of them. Now, that's unlike, say, flash forward 20 years and I'm watching The Force Awakens, where every time I watch The Force Awakens now, I like it more and more and more. That was, but those are the only two circumstances out of the, 2,000 or 3,000 films that I've seen that my opinion on the movies have drastically changed compared to my first viewing. Again, we all have lots of films where we've had minor shifts in our thoughts on a movie, but those are the only two I can really think of where I've had massive shifts. Let's see. Asian Movie Enthusiast writes, that's a great name. Hey, John, I just wanted to let you know that I'm currently drinking a hot cup of Tim Hortons coffee while eating a delicious Bavarian donut. I'll tell you what, I'm not a coffee drinker, but everybody knows who's ever had it that Tim Hortons makes the best coffee. As a matter of fact, when I go home to Canada, I often have American friends going, can you bring me back some Tim Hortons coffee, please? Like everybody asks me for that. I like the Bavarian donut. My favorite donut in the world, though, is the Tim Hortons Boston Cream Donut. It is the best donut I've ever had. It is my all-time favorite. So I'm a little bit envious, Asian Movie Enthusiast, that you're even there at all. All right, Nathan Oswald writes, no joke, I really enjoy Batman and Robin more than The Dark Knight Rises. Hey man, that's the subjectivity of film. There are films that strike a bunch of people one way, but it can strike other people the other ways. That's the great thing about it. And listen, look, as bad as that movie is to me, even I can say there's a couple of cute moments that make me laugh and have a good time. Overall, I think it's a terrible movie, but that doesn't mean you're supposed to think it's a terrible movie. You saw it, you liked it, that's awesome. No complaints there. Jonathan Teft writes, was very surprised by Long Shot. Oh, me too, man. I consider myself mostly Republican, and I still found myself laughing hysterically. It doesn't matter what side of the politics you follow, everyone can enjoy this film equally. I'll tell you what, I said this in my review of Long Shot, one of my big pleasant surprises coming out, that despite the fact that this whole movie revolves around a political situation, the woman's the Secretary of State, you got a president, you got corporate interests, she decides she wants to be president of the United States, to do all these things and blah, blah, blah. So you'd think, since the whole movie revolves around a political scenario, you would think the movie in and of itself would be very political. And it's actually not. It's got a few moments, yes, but for the most part, I found that Long Shot really wasn't that much of a political movie at all. And I agree with you, Jonathan. It was just really funny. I walked out very entertained. I walked out of that movie very, very entertained. My side's hurting a little bit from the amount of laughing in it, particularly the Captain Crunch joke. I won't give anything away, but for those of you who saw the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The Captain Crunch joke killed me. And yeah, man, I loved it. And I think you make a good observation, Jonathan. I don't think regardless of what political persuasion you are as a person, like most good movies, I think you can go into this movie and have a really good time. So anyway, thanks for that thought. Jonathan follows up with El Chicano, which I still haven't seen yet. El Chicano wasn't great, but still a really interesting take on the superhero genre. The first half is a bit slow and could use more action, and the action overall could have been shot better. Interesting. Like, I knew almost nothing about this movie. And then out of nowhere, I got this invitation the other night to go to a slightly advanced screening of it. And I'm like, El Chicano? And that's when I really looked into it. And I wanted to go, but unfortunately, I was already booked for that night, so I couldn't do it. So anyway, but I thought it looked really interesting. So I still want to check this film out. But thanks for giving me your insight on that, man. I'm going to keep my eye out open for that. And it does sound, the kind of little criticisms you give here does sound like something that would happen in a lower budget superhero movie. You know, you can't do the action quite as well. So I don't know. I'm still curious to see it myself, though. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on that, Jonathan. All right. 2014 Gamora's new boyfriend writes, when can we expect the Zack Snyder cut of Battlefield Earth? And do you think they'll include the rumored ketchup on Alien Egg's deleted scene? I mean, we were joking about that the other day, that I've been seeing more and more memes popping up about release the Snyder cut of insert name of really bad movie here or there. It's becoming the big thing, and I gotta admit, I still right now kind of smile and giggle every time I see it. So there you go. All right, Anthony DeRizzo writes, hey John, I've been a fan of DB Woodside, from Lucifer, since the 24 days, and was watching him on Lucifer, has me thinking he'd be an awesome Jon Stewart. Thoughts? I don't do John, should X actor be X role? I don't care. The answer to that is I don't care. The only thing I care about is an actor good? So I think DB Woodside is a really good actor. I love seeing him as a meta deal in Lucifer. I've now watched 2 episodes of Lucifer. I'm loving this new season of Lucifer. So I think he's a good actor. So as long as you put a good actor in that role, then I'm totally good. Now there's 30 or 40 other guys I could put in that role as well that I'd be just as happy with. But sure, why not? But that's always going to be my answer. As long as you're listing a good actor, I'll go sure, why not? So sure, why not? Matsif Jada writes, do you separate the art from the artist? I try. I think we should, at least we should try. There are situations where it becomes very, very difficult. For instance, Chris Brown. He beats women. I can't listen to anything with a dude who beats and hospitalizes women. Can't do it. The guy's a cretin. He's the bottom of the shoe. He should be rotting somewhere. Anyway, that's just my thought. Whatever. And then the weirdest things, like you take one of the guys who's one of our most celebrated actors of this generation was Kevin Spacey. Separating the art from the actor. Let's get back to Kevin Spacey in a second. Look at Russell Crowe. From all reports, Russell Crowe is a jerk. From all reports. Now, I've had a chance to meet Russell Crowe twice, and he's always been super nice to me. He's always been super nice to me. So all I can say is my experience with Russell Crowe has always been very positive. But to be fair, and you guys know Russell Crowe's my favorite all-time actor. I don't think he's the best actor of all time. That's Daniel Day-Lewis. But Russell Crowe is my all-time favorite actor. But from every report I've ever read, he can be a bit of a jerk. Can we separate that from the work, though? Sure. Look, I'm drinking a delicious cup of Zevia right now. I enjoy Zevia. For all I know, the brewmaster of this batch of Zevia is a total dick. But I separate the work from the worker, for the most part. And so we can hear that this guy's difficult, or this woman's a jerk, or this guy's an ass, or whatever, and we can separate. Okay, that's fine, whatever. I don't care. I don't have to hang out with this person. I just want to see them do good work in a movie. For the most part, I think we should do that. For the most part, I think we do that. But there are exceptions. Whether there should or shouldn't be exceptions, that's up for you to decide. I know for me, there are exceptions. The Chris Brown thing, I'm not going to get over that. The Kevin Spacey thing, hearing how he abused people, took advantage of his position. I mean, it's just, I don't think I can ever watch anything with him again. Now, here's the funny thing, though, and I have no rational explanation for this. I don't. I'm not justifying this. I'm just saying this is the weirdest thing. I can't even conceive of watching Kevin Spacey in something else right now. I can't. I just can't. Yet, I can put on Usual Suspects and watch Kevin Spacey in something that I had seen before the controversy came out. I have no idea why. I can watch Seven, and I can watch what I just mentioned, Usual Suspects, and I can watch all these movies that I had seen before the controversy, and I can still watch those movies, but I can't even begin to think about watching something new with Kevin Spacey in it moving forward. I have no explanation for that. I don't know that that's right or wrong. I can't explain that. That's just weirdest thing to me. But it is kind of where my head's at, and I have no explanation. But anyway, guys like Kevin Spacey, guys like Chris Brown, things like that, then it's not just, I don't know. I think that goes beyond separating the art from the artist. I do. But it's a valid discussion to have. It's a valid thing to, and it's something we probably got to kind of deal with, especially in today's age when we know more and more and more and more about the private lives of these celebrities. It becomes an even more important question to know, right? Anyway. John Michael Lozada writes, finally saw Hamilton. Would a film version work? I think so. You'd have to do it as a musical, though. You have to do it the way that Hugh Jackman did Les Mis. I just saw Les Mis again the other night on stage. Oh my God, my favorite live stage show ever. But I think it absolutely can work. Madsif Jada follows up with what he wrote, especially when the artist has done something bad. Yeah, well, we already kind of addressed that. Madsif writes, Vic Berger's Jim Bakker videos are hilarious. I have not seen those, but I bet they are. Anything with Jim Bakker, I'm sure, could be very funny. Doshi writes, good news, everyone. I'm in remission, feeling good. Hey, that's good news to hear, Doshi. Thanks for sharing that. I know there's been a lot of conversation in the chat boards about that. Good to hear, man. Hector Riaz writes, I'm a mechanic. Watching your shows gives me a nice distraction from all the noise in the shop. Love your show, man. Keep up the great work. Well, first of all, Hector, I don't know if it was you or it was another person who mentioned that they build cars. It might have been a different person that said it, but it's like, I cannot change a tire. I have a hard time putting gas in my car. I have such huge respect for people who know how to work on cars, man. Tip of the hat to you, sir. That's awesome. And thanks for coming along. And I'm honored that you let us and our show here be a part of your day. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. All right. Jaron Morris writes, after playing The Last of Us for the 100th time and watching Logan for the 50th time, John, if you think hard and yank out the mutant element, probably meant take out the mutant element of Logan, in my opinion, there's an argument to be made that's the Last of Us movie. I've heard a lot of people make that comparison before, Jaron. Now, I have never played, I played a little bit, but basically I haven't played Last of Us. I have, however, watched the both 5-hour cutscene movie version and the 12-hour cutscene movie version. So I got a good grasp of Last of Us. And I've heard many, many people make this comparison, Jaron. So you're not alone. For me, though, I just see too many ways in which it is not similar. There are some similar elements in there for sure. There are definitely some similar thematic elements as well, but I still find them to be very different stories. But there's a reason why, right? When Logan came out, a bunch of people put out these memes of Logan and X-23 as the characters in Last of Us, right? Say, this is the Last of Us movie you should make. So I can totally see where you build on that. And again, just because I think that doesn't mean I'm right. I could be very wrong about that because there are a lot of people that see things the same way you do, Jaron. So it's a good observation. All right. Marie Seifring writes, what have you heard about Cate Blanchett's new film, Where'd You Go, Bernadette? I had not even heard of the book/film until the trailer dropped. I didn't know anything about the book. I knew nothing about the book. I thought the trailer looked totally fascinating. I want to see this. I really do. Yeah, Cate Blanchett, I'm forgetting. That's not Jim Caviezel who plays her husband, is it? Anyway, you got Lawrence Fishburne pops up in there too. You got just a few familiar faces pop up, but it just looks really interesting. And I like the thing, but I know nothing about it, Marie, other than the trailer that dropped a while ago. I believe it dropped in December or something like that. Anyway, other than that trailer, I know very little about it, but the trailer was enough for me. I'm on board with this movie, and I'm excited for it. And of course, it's Cate Blanchett. She's one of the greatest actors on the planet. So there's a lot of things to look forward to in this, so I'm excited about it. All right. Orange Hand writes, Banner didn't change the last 5 years like Tony asked, but would undusting people at an earlier time to save all that hardship be a better idea? No. Because remember, was there a lot of hardship? Yes. But good things happened in the last 5 years. Tony's just a great example of that. He built a life with Pepper. They had a child. Other people had children. All right? To just undo the last 5 years means you're destroying you're just basically doing another snap to a whole new generation of people. That's millions of people born in the past 5 years that you're just destroying, right? If you just bring everybody back who was lost, well then, you still had the last 5 years of hardship, but everybody's back. Whereas if they just take us back 5 years, you kill millions of people, you wipe them out of existence, you destroy a lot of the lives that people have built over the last few years. So it's hard. I'll tell you what, though. Somebody brought up a really interesting question. And I almost feel like I should do a standalone live stream video about this so we can just have a big open discussion about this topic. What happens after the snap, after the unsnapping, I should say? People who lost husbands and wives and boyfriends and girlfriends and significant others in the snap, then maybe a few years later, find somebody new and start to move forward and build their lives again. And now all of a sudden, their dead husband, dead wife, dead significant other, dead boyfriend, dead girlfriend, whatever, is all of a sudden now back. Think about that. Somebody brought that up to me and I went, well, wait a minute, that's huge. Like, yeah, you could make an entire movie about the hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people who had lost their spouses or significant others, and now, and then after years, finally had the strength to move on, maybe found another partner, and now their original partner's back. What do you do? So even in a great good like undoing the snap, it does create a lot of drama. You could do a whole series about that, I think. The unsnapping, you could probably call it. Okay, Jonathan Teft writes, 1 out of 3. I never fully understood what it felt like for a woman to see a Wonder Woman or African American to see Black Panther. But now as an overweight guy, I think I got a bit of that feeling seeing Thor in Endgame. It's awesome seeing a superhero who's overweight fighting alongside the others as an equal, proving that you don't need a six-pack to be a hero and can still be taken seriously. I love that. You know what's funny, Jonathan? One of the first jokes I saw people messaging to me after Endgame opened was, I can finally, like some guys who are like you and I, right? We're average guys. Some guys like us, and some people wrote on Twitter, finally, I get to cosplay as Thor. I just thought that was hilarious when people were saying that. And Robert brings this up once in a while, but there are some people upset thinking that the Thor thing was fat shaming. I didn't find the Thor thing fat shaming at all, to be honest with you. And like, I'm a 220 pound guy, right? And I didn't find Thor was fat shaming at all. I never interpreted that. I interpret as, look, Thor, it was a juxtaposition. Thor's physical shape was a juxtaposition and physical manifestation of where he was mentally. And that's how I always interpreted that. And it becomes funny, not just because Thor was an average guy who was now overweight. It was Thor, the god of thunder, this chiseled thing who looks like he was the byproduct of a pirate and an angel having a baby together. Like that became the jokes. It was the juxtaposition that was the joke. And again, I did kind of see it. Like I liked when Thor had his transformation after he gets Stormbreaker and Mjolnir and he gets the braided beard, his gut was still there. I like that they didn't do the thing where all of a sudden now he was super ripped six-pack again and now I can fight. No, he was still him and got to go into battle that way and help save the day. I thought that was really cool. I did. I really appreciate that they did that. And again, to me, and I'm not disrespecting anybody else's thoughts on this. If you have a different thought on that, I respect that. I'm just saying for me as an audience member, when I sat there watching it, the way it hit me was, it is a physical manifestation of where he is psychologically and where he was in Infinity War psychologically, where he is now 5 years later in sadness and depression, and his body became a physical manifestation of that change. And I always liked it on that level. Again, different people will have different opinions, and that's cool. I'm not sitting here trying to disrespect anybody's opinion on that issue. I'm just saying that's mine, and I appreciate yours as well, Jonathan. So thanks for sharing that, man. All right. Where are we at? Riaz writes, Ashley, please pronounce my name right. It's Re as in red, Re And the word, yes, Rez. Oh, Rez. Okay, interesting. It's a Filipino surname. I didn't know that. Anne would know. Yes, Anne, my Filipino wife, would know that. Thanks, you're beautiful. Well, she's not here, so I'll take that as a compliment to me because I am beautiful. All right. Rez writes. I always say Riez, but okay, Rez. Rez writes, one of two. Did you guys spot the Ish reference in Shazam? Adult superpowered Freddy Kid version played by Jack Dylan Grazer of It faces off with Pride. Pride monster, which bears its claws, and they do the same shot as the Pennywise does to Jack Dylan Grazer's character and company in It. Neat callback. I don't know that was an It callback. I think, now I could be wrong about this, Rez. We could talk to the directors of the film someday and find out this was a very purposeful thing, but I think that was, honestly, my opinion, Rez, is that it was just a coincidence. I think it's just a coincidence that looked the same. I don't know that it was done on purpose. But again, I'm not going to be shocked if we hear from the filmmaker someday that he really did make that a thing. I won't be shocked to hear that. But again, my initial thought is that it was probably just a coincidence, but you might be right on that. Let's keep our eyes open. All right, I'm Upset writes, shocked your Hulk cameo wasn't in Endgame's final battle. Looked very closely. My character does come back in Endgame, and he's right behind Howard the Duck. Just keep your eyes open for that. All right, Jonathan, I'm kidding, obviously. Jonathan Teft writes, did you notice the kid in Brightburn is the same kid who plays 12-year-old Scott Lang in Endgame when time travel is making him change his age? We actually talked about this yesterday. I talked about this in one of my videos yesterday. That kid who, when Scott first tests the time travel thing and he comes back as like a 12, 13-year-old, that is the same kid who plays the lead character in the upcoming Brightburn movie. I've got a feeling James Gunn, who of course produced Brightburn, might have recommended him to the Russo brothers for a little spot in there. I think he might have done that, but yeah, we talked about it again yesterday, Jonathan, but yep, good eye, man, good eye. All right, Daniel Weiss writes, best MCU recast, Mark Ruffalo or Don Cheadle? Funny, because neither of them were necessary. At least on camera wise, neither of them were necessary. There was behind the camera drama with both of them, but I'm just saying on camera, there was no reason to recast Ed Norton. I thought Ed Norton was really good in his movie. I think Terrence Howard was great, but again, behind the camera drama, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to say Mark Ruffalo. And you know what? I think Don Cheadle might be the slightly better actor. I like both of these guys a lot. I love Ruffalo. I love Don Cheadle. I think John Cheadle might even be a little bit better of an actor, but Ruffalo really took the Banner character and kind of reformed it and made it his own. It's still technically the same character that Ed Norton played, but he really changed it in a bit to make it his own character. So I'll go, even though it's both really even, I'll go Mark Ruffalo on that. All right, Jaron Morris writes, just imagine if the MCU does this multiverse stuff. Imagine the emotional scene when Peter meets another universe's Tony Stark, if the MCU goes that way. I gotta tell you though, to me, it's not gonna have any emotional impact. They'll make an emotional scene out of it, but it won't have any emotional impact to me. It's like, oh, we already had the big emotional thing where he says goodbye to Tony, and now we're gonna replay it again. But you know what? I have no doubt they're gonna do it at some point. I have very little doubt, Jaron, that at some point they're gonna do it. I think it's lame. I think it's bottom of the barrel. I think it's lazy. But that's what I think about time travel and multidimensional stuff in stories. I think it's bottom of the barrel, lazy stuff. But I think they're 100% going to do it, though. So I think you're going to get your wish, Jaron. I think you're going to see that scene someday. Again, maybe not this year, maybe not next year, maybe not in 5 years. But eventually, someday, I think it's going to happen. The Bearded One writes, really hope Universal can get back on track with their monster films. There's a lot of potential there. Yeah, I think they've kind of shelved it. They may restart and try to do something else with their classic Monsterverse, but man, they just got so far ahead of themselves, marketing all these 5 different movies that are coming when The Mummy hadn't even come out yet. The Mummy hadn't even come out yet, and they're putting out these pictures with all the cast from the upcoming 5 movies standing together. It's like, dude, you are so putting the cart before the horse. It is crazy, but I think that dark universe that they were trying to set up, that's dead. That's dead. But it doesn't mean that Universal, that has this catalog of these great classic characters, can't take another shot at those characters in a different way at some point. But the Dark Universe stuff does seem to be gone. Dirk Walker writes, if they do a multiverse, I think they should still have it where each character is unique and only exists in their own universe. No copies, kind of like Spider-Verse. You know, I was talking about that before, Dirk. You see, I think multiverse stuff is lame. But if you did it in a way that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse did it, because here's the thing. When you do it kind of the way that the MCU has started to set it up, that all these multiple universes, but they're all exactly the same as ours. Lame. But Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse introduced the idea of a multiverse where it's the same, but everything's different. In one universe, Spider-Man is a pig. It's Peter Porker, the Amazing Spider-Ham. In another one, it's Spider-Man Noir. In another one, it's an anime girl with a robot. In another one, it's Spider-Gwen. In another one, it's something else. Like, so I can get my head around a little bit more. But this whole cheap, oh, Gamora died. But wait, we've got Gamora back because it's the exact same Gamora just from a few years earlier, but it's the exact same one. Everything was exactly the same in that universe and that timeline. And we just plopped her in here. Yay, she's back. Oh, you miss Loki? No problem. We got the exact same Loki and he's back. Don't you worry that, that Thanos said, no resurrections this time. Pshaw. Let's just pluck him from another timeline there because it's the exact same. But it's cheap. It's bottom of the barrel. It's lazy. I'm glad Loki's back. I'm glad Gamora's back. But again, it's just MC fake. All this has done is just given Marvel new ways to do fake deaths. That's all this is. It's just brand new ways to do fake deaths. But if you do it something like Spider-Verse, Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse, where there are multiple dimensions and there are similarities, but it's all different. That could be cool. And it takes away some of your excuses as well. So it'd be interesting to see if they did something like that, Dirk. Isaac Uzetta writes, hey, John, love the show, man. Thank you so much, Isaac. Always watch at work. Keeps me going. Also, I finally watched Chef. Oh, my God. I love that movie. Good recommendation. Jon Favreau, ladies and gentlemen. Speaking of Avengers, Jon Favreau, Robert Downey Jr., Scarlett Johansson is in it. Robert and Scarlett don't have massive roles in the film, but they have significant roles. It's such a good little indie film that Jon Favreau did about a guy who is this acclaimed chef, starts a food truck, doing Cuban sandwiches out of a food truck. It's so good. The movie's so good. If you guys get a chance to watch it, Isaac, I'm glad you had a chance to finally watch it, and I'm glad I recommended it. So check it out, guys. Follow Isaac's lead here. Check out Chef sometime. It's funny. It's got a lot of heart to it. Check it out. I think you're going to like it. All right. XX Your Disease writes, if I ever direct a Batman fight scene, I would add two things that nobody has seen. Number one, a thug stepping on his cape. Number two, someone pulling his bat ears from behind. I don't know if that would be wise, because if I'm fighting Batman and I actually find myself in the fortuitous position that I'm actually behind him, I'm taking a lead pipe to the back of his head. I'm not going to just go yank on his ears. But I got to admit, Triple X, it could make for a pretty funny thing. Batman goes to take a step and somebody's stepping on his cape or somebody pulls him. That could be a funny moment, though. I'm just saying, if I was in that spot, I'd be taking advantage of the fact that he's looking in another direction and hit him in the back of the head with a lead pipe. All right, that's just me, though. All right, bit of a jump. Let's go back here now. We're at, where are we at? Schnip. And Schnip writes, it too looks outstanding. It really does. I loved Endgame as much as the next guy, but it was refreshing to see my newsfeed talking about something else for a change. Yeah, it too was great. But look, the Endgame stuff, I should say, the Endgame coverage is totally justified. We are watching cinematic history in the making here. I mean, it really is, all the coverage is completely justified. You are talking about a film where the fastest movie in history to get to 2 billion was 47 days. Endgame did it in 11. 11 days. That's nuts. Titanic has been in the number one or number two spots at the all-time box office for 22 years nearly. And it's just been dethroned. Now all the stuff is Avatar. This type of... Look, Endgame isn't the greatest movie of all time. And it's not even the best MCU movie of all time. But what we are seeing here is historic. That has never been done before. And we're seeing a movie right now that more people have seen than almost any other movie in history. So yeah, if for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, the news cycle is dominated by Endgame and what it's doing, it is kind of justified. But I agree with you, man. The It stuff looks fantastic. It's nice to be talking about other movies that we're looking forward to now. Brightburn's coming, John Wick Chapter 3. A lot of you looking forward to Pikachu, Godzilla, look, I'm actually looking forward to Aladdin now that I've seen some footage of CinemaCon. Lion King. It's nice to start talking about these others great looking movies that we have coming that we can be excited about, but I still think, Schnip, that when you put it into historical context, the coverage is getting Endgame is pretty justified. Anyway, Guy Volt writes, could Frozen 2 and Toy Story combined to make as much as Endgame? It wouldn't, because look, you're talking about, if you're saying you made a Toy Story and Frozen, first of all, that makes no sense. Frozen is in a far, far away land at a far, far away time. Toy Story happens in modern day. But even if you could suddenly put those two movies together, you're making the assumption that nobody who watched Toy Story watched Frozen, and nobody who watched Frozen watched Toy Story. You're imagining that those are two totally different audiences that never watched the other movie, and now you put them together, it'll double their viewership, right? There will be added interest because you're putting them together, but no, I don't think if you made a Frozen and Toy Story together at last movie, I don't think you're looking at a $2 billion film. You're looking at a $1 billion film, maybe even more than either of the other two movies have made, but I don't think you're looking at something that would break 2 billion, let alone like 2.5 or anything. Just my thought, though. I could be wrong. Randall Cartwright writes, just rewatched Hacksaw Ridge. Oh, love that movie. Andrew Garfield, the aforementioned. I remember you saying it was your favorite movie of 2016. I would have to agree. Absolutely amazing. That movie's nuts good. Now, I can't remember if it's my absolute number one favorite film of the year or not, but it was right up there. Mel Gibson, for whatever, remember we were talking about trying to separate the art from the artist? Mel Gibson showed again he is one of the best directors on the planet. Andrew Garfield was spectacular in it. Vince Vaughn was great in it. It is a spectacular movie. If not the best movie of that year, certainly one of the top 2 or 3. I adore that film, and I'm glad you had a chance to watch, Randall, because it is powerful and moving and just an awesome viewing experience. Ben Rayner writes, I liked how they used Hulk in Infinity War and Endgame. They gave us a different version of Hulk in every movie, evolving him to what we finally got in Endgame. No, I agree, and I give Russo's credit for taking that Hulk character and wanting to do something different. I give them credit for that. I give them full credit for that. Now, at the same time, you can say, we're going to make a couple of Justice League movies, but it's only going to be Clark Kent. He's never going to be Superman. That would be different, right? That would be different. But I don't know if it would make a lot of people happy. Speaking of happy, guys, if you like my coffee mug, just look below this video to my merchandising shelves. You can find John Campea coffee mugs, t-shirts, and hats. How's that for a plug? Okay, let's move on. Yeah, you could get a Justice League movie or 2 Justice League movies in a continuous story and just have Superman only as Clark Kent and never actually doing anything Supermanish. That would be different. That would be bold, and I would applaud them for trying something like that. But it's Superman. You should probably have Superman come out at some point, right? So I'm agreement with you, Ben, but you can see why it would still leave some people unsatisfied, right? Jeremy Sneed writes, watch the first episode of Lucifer 3 days later, finishing up episode 4. Wow, you binged all the seasons that fast? Tip of the hat to you, sir. 3 days later, just finishing up season 4. Dang it, John, I'm hooked. And remember, I've only seen 2 episodes so far of season 4. I've only just finished the second episode of season 4. I'm loving it. I am so glad this show's back. Ann and I, this is how big and cool we are. What are we doing for our Friday night? Living in the hotbed of Los Angeles, California. What are we doing with our Friday night? We're going to order dinner and stay home and watch Lucifer episodes. That's what me and my wife are doing. That's how cool we are. Or lack thereof. All right. Ryan Lohner writes, remember the scene in Titans where Rachel watches Game of Thrones? Hey, Dick, doesn't Jorah look a lot like that guy who raised you? Was that actually a line in there? Did they actually do that line? Because if they do, I don't remember at all. That would be a real funny foreshadowing if they did that. Because, of course, the guy who plays Jorah, he has been cast now to play Bruce Wayne in Titans Season 2. I don't remember. I don't know if you're joking or if they actually said that line. Because, man, Ryan, if they actually gave that line, that's brilliant foreshadowing. That's brilliant foreshadowing. I'll have to check that out now. Or maybe you're just joking. I'm not sure. Derek Choi writes, oh, just a super chat. Thank you so much, Derek. Matt Coos writes, hello, John. And by the way, this will be the last question that I take. And then I'm just going to go through and take some of the other questions that have come in. I just noticed that some people have sent in some fairly big super chats, and I want to make sure those get answered before we call it a day. Matt Coos writes, hello, John. July 2021, no Marvel Studio movie. Slot for a Spider-Man movie? What do you think about a Spider-Man every 2 years? Well, they have been including, I don't know that they're going to be, because Disney has been when talking about their plans, they always include Spider-Man in those. Granted, they're not the distribution company, but they always include Spider-Man in those announcements. So I don't know if we're going to get another Spider-Man standalone film in the next few years, but maybe. I mean, you might raise a really good point there, Makus, that maybe all these films that Disney announced don't include any potential upcoming Spider-Man film because, technically speaking, those are Sony releases. It's a very good thought. It's a very good thought. I'll have to think about that. But remember, Marvel is the production company. I don't know that they have time to do 3 movies a year and the Spider-Man movie. Sony's a distributor, but they're not the production company. I don't know if Disney's got that kind of time. Maybe, but it's a really good thought. All right. Now, just going to let you guys know, TL, Lucario, and Fernando Alvarez, and Carlos Sosa, don't worry. I'm going to do a companion video later, either today or tomorrow. Your questions are going to get answered in an upcoming video, but I'm just going to go through and just take a couple more right now for people who send in slightly bigger ones because, you're supporting the channel that level. I'm going to see if I can get through some of your questions here. Joanna from Canada, I love the name, obviously, writes, good day, my fellow Canadian and part of the A team. I just wanted to express that Jessica Chastain's performance in Zero Dark 30 was incredible and she should have won the Academy Award. She was great in that. I was cool that she didn't win just because there were some other great performances that year, but I completely agree with you, Joanna. She was balls out crazy good in that movie. But I thought she was even better in Molly's Game. I thought she was even better in Molly's Game. And I'm shocked she didn't get more Oscar love for Molly's Game, to be honest with you. But yeah, she is fabulous. She was one of my favorite interviews. I've met her on a couple of occasions. She's wonderful. Just love her. All right, Darth Suthius writes, of the 39 $1 billion plus movies, 4 had domestic totals of less than 300 million. Fast and Furious 8, Pirates of the Caribbean, Stranger Tides, Despicable Me 3, and Transformers Age of Extinction. I'll tell you what, I love strange little facts. That is a cool little fact. I like that. That's cool. Of the $39 billion films, 4 of them have made less than 300 million domestically. Fast and Furious 8, Pirates of the Caribbean, Despicable Me 3, and Transformers Age of Extinction. That's very cool stat. I'm going to delve into that a little bit deeper at some point because I think that's some really cool info there. Thanks for sharing that, man. Another semi-professional writes, John, do you think that the Black Widow movie is set between Infinity War and Endgame? Will give us more Hulk with Bruce and Hulk becoming Professor Hulk in that, and Bruce and Nat resolving their story too. Well, it's funny. A lot of people have been assuming that the Black Widow movie was going to happen prior to the events of Infinity War. Actually, maybe even prior to the events of Avengers, and be like an origin story. And I suggested on the show that, hey, what if it takes place in that 5-year gap between Infinity War and Endgame? There's some really interesting stories. Now, do you include Hulk in that? Maybe. I mean, so I thought that was a possibility for a while, semi-professional, but I didn't consider the including Hulk. I've got a feeling it will involve her traveling around the world, probably trying to put out some fires or something, trying to keep the world together in the midst of the decimation. That's what I always thought. But bringing in Hulk, resolving that story, I guess there are some interesting things you could do there. It's an interesting observation, man. Okay. K Major writes, The way I see it, the Hulk is all brute strength, power personified. It was pretty clear pure power wasn't enough to take out Thanos. Hell, you could have Cap, Thor, and Iron Man couldn't overpower him. Oh man, if you had Cap, Thor, and Hulk, Cap, Thor, Iron Man, and Hulk, they would have taken down Thanos. They would have taken down Thanos. Of that, I have no thing. But that's the thing. He is pure power personified. He is the nuclear weapon. He's the nuclear option. We should dread and fear and cheer when we see Bruce open his eyes and the eyes are turning green. It should be that moment again. And we were robbed of that. Yeah, I got no doubt that if it had been in Endgame, if it had been Thor, Iron Man, Cap, and Hulk, they would have taken down Thanos. Of that, I have very, very little doubt, K Major. Darth Suthius writes, I don't understand all the questions of Thanos' strength without the gauntlet. Just like Kal-El, Thanos is a different species from a different planet with a different physiology. Am I crazy here? Well, no, it's not that, but it is understanding that he is more, however powerful he is without the gauntlet, he is more powerful wearing a gauntlet with Infinity Stones in it. He's overall more powerful. I think that's the assumption there. It's not underplaying how strong he could have been then. It's just that we expected to see a discrepancy between how powerful he is with an Infinity Gauntlet and how powerful he is without one. It's not like anybody was expecting him, Darth, to not be powerful. Remember, he was called... Jaimon Hansu in Guardians of the Galaxy referred to Thanos as the most powerful being in the galaxy, right? Or the most powerful being in the universe. That was without having a gauntlet. So we know he's super, super powerful. It's just that I think a lot of people were expecting to see a difference between a gauntleted Thanos and a non-gauntlet Thanos. So that's what I think most people are referring to. I could be wrong, but that's what I think. Okay, let's go down here. Chris Pevoto writes, hey, John, wondering this. Why would Star Wars... Oh, okay, here we go. Why would Star Wars keep Ryan... Guys, please try not to use abbreviations because then I got to stop and think about it and waste time. Wondering this. Why would Star Wars keep Rian Johnson after fans got very mixed after The Last Jedi? Does this seem like a pro with so much venom came out from multiple side or liability? With prequels, fans cried to make it better, not George Lucas leaving. Thank you. Well, I mean, the big thing you got to look at here is this. The execs at Disney and Lucasfilm loved The Last Jedi. I remember standing there where Bob Iger was. Bob Iger loves this movie. And that's the biggest bottom line. Bob Iger loved that movie. Why would you bring him back? Well, the fact of the matter is the majority of people did like The Last Jedi. Now, I like The Last Jedi. I have my issues with it, though. You all know I've talked about them many times. But overall, I liked it, but there are a bunch of people who didn't. And it's fair to call The Last Jedi, by all stretches, it's a divisive film. Is it then a good idea to bring him back? If you think he's going to make a good movie, then yes. But at the same time, could it cost? And also, by the way, you got to ask yourself, if you're Rian Johnson, why would you want to come back? I mean, honestly, whether you like Rian Johnson or not, and I think Rian Johnson's a terrific filmmaker, whether you like The Last Jedi or not. When you're looking at things like Looper and Brick and things like that, I think he's a great filmmaker. But if you're Rian Johnson and you've just taken more abuse than you've ever taken in your life, why would you want to come back? And then the question is, if you're Disney and you've had this situation, would you want to just walk into that situation again and have him come back? It's a great question. But Bob Iger has never been one to do things what other people think he should do. Bob Iger's going to do what he thinks is best. And that's the bottom line. He's going to do what he thinks is best. But like I said before, I've been told, and I believe the case is, that those new Star Wars dates that are coming out in 2022, 2024, and 2026, none of them are the Rian Johnson movies. Those are all the Benioff and Weiss movies, the Game of Thrones guys. That's their movies coming out those years. So either the Rian Johnson movies have been canceled, or they've decided to do those in 10 years. Why would they plan that far in advance? I have no idea. So either they have canceled Rian Johnson's things, or they're going to do them in 10 years, or they're just going to say Rian Johnson, instead of doing his own movies, he's now just collaborating with Benioff and Weiss on theirs movie. I don't know. I don't know what the bottom line is, but ultimately it's just that those movies coming out in 2022, 24, and 26, they're not Rian Johnson's movies. They're just the Benioff and Weiss movies. So let's see what the situation is about that. I haven't heard any official word from Disney. We'll have to wait and see. And two more here. Jaron Morris writes, life, death, chicken, egg. In the end, I'll reap him too. God, wait, you'll reap God. Oh yes, God shall die. I can't wait to see him return in season 15. It was confirmed. #chill. So what he's talking about is in Supernatural, they had this badass actor playing Death. And he's the ultimate, and he has a bunch of Grim Reapers that work for him. He's the ultimate Reaper. And there's this one episode a number of seasons ago where Dean Winchester is having this conversation with Death. And Death basically says, at some point I'll reap God too. At some point I'll reap God. Now, he may have been right and may have been wrong or whatever. But yeah, now we're going into this thing where they've set up Chuck or God as a villain for the final season, which to me is BS. It made me hate the season finale this year because it's totally a retcon of everything that they've done with the Chuck character up till now, but whatever. We'll see what they do with it. But it is going to be cool to see that guy back as Death, because I loved him in that role. I absolutely loved him in that role. All right, last question today. And then, don't worry, guys. All the other questions that we didn't answer will be addressed in a companion video today. Jaron Morris writes, season 4 of 5 of Supernatural, I love how Lucifer, or 4 and 5, I love how Lucifer was played because not only was he a scary and witty character, but there was a sadness to him at times. He didn't want to fight Michael, and listening to his backstory, you kind of feel sorry for him. That's something that I've always appreciated, Jaron, about what Supernatural has done, not just with Lucifer, but with all their characters. I mean, there have been times too when the boys have gone after one of the monsters and then started to feel a lot of empathy for the monster, and then ultimately, very sadly, have to kill the monster anyway or let the monster go, whatever. They've always given different layers to that. And I think they should have let the Lucifer character go a while ago. I think they've overdone him a little bit at this point, but even right up until last year, I've always liked the way they've used him and the way they portrayed him and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, but that's just highlighting, Jaron, one of the things that I think this show has done overall very positively, which is, the way they use and give multiple dimensions to all those characters, including the villainous ones. So I like that. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here. Once again, don't forget all the questions that did not get answered here, guys, they're going to get answered in a companion video. Keep your eyes open for that. It's coming just a little bit later. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here, guys, and being part of this fabulous Friday. You made it through to the end of the week. I hope you all have some fabulous plans for the weekend. I know I'm going to be watching a little bit of UFC tomorrow night, see Rose and Aldo and Anderson Silva. It's a great card tomorrow night. I'm super looking forward to that. I hope you guys have a great weekend watching some movies, your favorite TV shows, spending time with friends or family or loved ones, just doing the things that you enjoy. I know I'll be doing the same thing. All right, guys, that'll do it for me for now. Don't forget, we're going to have an open mic tomorrow. Come on back if you're so inclined and join us. My name is John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.